The small human ship Aurora's whisper drifted through the cold darkness of space. It was not a large or powerful vessel, but it carried something special, a message of peace. Captain Elias Rourke sat quietly in his chair, watching the distant glow of the dying star Aurea 9. The light flickered like an old candle about to go out. His mission was simple. He was sent by the United Terran Alliance to visit Station Solace, a research station run by an alien race known as the Valari. He only needed to say hello, share greetings from Earth, and leave. It was a courtesy visit, a small gesture of friendship. As his ship approached the station, Elias looked out the window. Station Solace floated like a glass flower near the glowing star. Its metal petals shimmered in golden light. A faint blue halo surrounded it, protecting it from the radiation of the dying sun. The communication screen blinked. "This is Station Solace. Identify yourself," Elias smiled. "Captain Elias Rourke, Terran Diplomatic Corps. Just passing by to say hello." There was silence for a moment. Then a calm voice replied, slow and musical. "Welcome, Captain Rourke. Docking sequence initiated. We will receive you." Elias guided his ship toward the docking bay. The clamps locked with a soft metallic sound. The airlock opened and warm golden light spilled inside. A tall, slender figure waited for him. Her skin shimmered faintly like silver under sunlight, and her eyes glowed a calm shade of violet. She was High Thinker Allura, leader of the Valari science team. "Captain Rourke," she said softly. "It is rare for humans to come this far. You came just to say hello?" Elias nodded with a friendly grin. "That's right. Thought it was time we met in person." For a moment, Allura studied him with quiet curiosity. Valari were known to be logical and distant, but she looked almost warm. Then she said the words that would stay in his mind. "You came just to say hello. Then why don't you stay a little longer?" Elias followed her through bright corridors made of crystal and metal. Everything on the station looked peaceful but old, like it had been standing for centuries. Small orbs of blue light floated along the ceiling, lighting their way. Allura explained that the Valari were studying Aurea 9, a star at the end of its life. "When a star dies," she said, "it tells a story. We listen to that story." Elias tilted his head. "A story?" She smiled slightly. "Yes, the final light carries whispers from the beginning. We can learn what the star has seen, the birth of worlds, the rise of life, the silence after." He was fascinated. Humans had studied stars for ages, but the Valari seemed to treat them like living memories. "And you've been doing this how long?" 300 of your years, Allura replied. "This station has been watching Aurea 9 fade since before your people learned to travel faster than light." Elias felt a quiet respect. "That's a long time to keep watching something die." She looked at him, her violet eyes soft. "We do not see it as death, Captain. We see it as transformation." That night, or what passed for night on the station, Elias couldn't sleep. The silence felt heavy. The hum of the station echoed like a heartbeat. He decided to walk the observation deck. Through the huge transparent wall he could see Aurea 9. The star's light pulsed slowly, red and gold, like a living ember. He could almost imagine it breathing. Allura joined him silently. "You cannot sleep," she said, not as a question but a statement. He smiled. "You could tell. I felt your thoughts wander," she said simply. "Your mind is warm. Humans are very loud inside," Elias chuckled. "Sorry about that. Comes with the species." For a moment they both stood in silence, watching the star. Then Elias asked, "Why invite me to stay?" "I was only supposed to say hello." Allura hesitated. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "Because it has been many years since anyone wanted to visit us without wanting something in return. You came with no demand, no question, no trade. You came just to speak. That is rare." Elias nodded slowly. "Sometimes a hello is enough." Her voice grew softer. "Perhaps. But there is more, Captain. This station is not as peaceful as it seems." Elias turned to her, curious. "What do you mean?" Allura didn't answer immediately. She raised her hand and pointed at the star. "We have been hearing things. Strange signals coming from Aurea 9. The data makes no sense. Patterns appear and disappear. Sounds that should not exist in the dying light." "Sounds?" Elias asked. "Yes. Voices." The next morning, Elias joined the Valari science team in the main lab. The room was filled with floating screens showing waves of light and magnetic readings from the star. Allura played one of the recordings. A soft crackling sound filled the air, like wind through leaves. Then faintly a tone rose, almost musical, and within it, a whisper. Elias froze. The whisper was faint, but it sounded like words. Words in English. He leaned forward. "Play that again." The Volari scientist looked at him, confused. "You understand the sound?" Allura tilted her head. "What do you hear, Captain?" Elias listened again. The voice was weak, distorted, but he was sure of it now. It said something like, "Can you hear me?" Elias felt a chill. That sounds human. The Volari looked at one another, their soft, telepathic murmurs filling the air. Allura frowned slightly. "That cannot be. The star is dying. There are no humans here but you." "Could it be a recording from a probe?" Elias asked. "Possibly. But the data is too complex. It changes each time we record it." He stared at the star outside the window. A strange thought crossed his mind. What if the star itself was speaking? Over the next 2 days, Elias stayed to help decode the signal. Allura guided him through the Volari data systems, showing him patterns of light and magnetism that looked almost like language. Together they worked, their differences fading. Allura was calm and patient. Elias was curious and full of questions. They made an unlikely but perfect pair, reason and emotion, logic and heart. Late one evening, Allura confessed something quietly. "Captain Rourke, the Council ordered us to ignore the signal. They fear what it could mean. But I believe it is something that must be heard." Elias looked at her. "You think it's important?" "I think it is alive," she whispered. The words hung between them. The hum of the station grew deeper, as if it was listening too. The following night, while Elias was reviewing the data, the lights on the station flickered. The panels dimmed. For a moment, everything went dark. Then, through the silence came a single, clear voice, not from the speakers but from the walls themselves. It said softly and clearly, "Elias." Elias froze. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Allura turned pale. "It said your name." The station lights flickered again and the voice faded, replaced by the low hum of the dying star. Elias looked out the window at Aria 9, his heart pounding with a mix of awe and fear. Something, or someone, inside that star knew his name. And as he stared into the golden fire, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had been expected. The voice that called his name did not leave Elias's mind. Even after the lights on the station returned to normal, the memory of that gentle whisper, "Elias," stayed with him like an echo in his heart. He didn't know how a dying star could speak, or how it could know who he was, but something deep inside him told him it wasn't random. The next morning, Elias walked to the main control deck. Allura was already there, her silver hands moving across floating screens of data. She looked tired, as if she hadn't rested all night. "You were awake the whole time?" Elias asked softly. She nodded. The signal grew stronger after the power fluctuation. "It is changing, adapting, almost as if it knows we are listening." Elias stepped closer to the glowing displays. The readings looked chaotic, waves of light and sound twisting in strange rhythmic patterns. But to him there was something almost familiar about it. "Do you think it could be intelligent?" he asked. Allura's violet eyes met his. "I do not know, but it is trying to speak." They began running deeper scans, combining human and Volari technology. Elias linked his ship's small AI system with the station's sensors. The two systems worked together, analyzing the signal from the star. Hours passed. The star's light outside the viewing window pulsed like a heartbeat. Every few minutes, the strange whisper returned, faint but clearer each time. At one point, it said, "Don't go." Elias turned to Allura. "It's talking to us." "To me?" She looked unsettled but curious. "You humans are emotional creatures. Are you sure it is not your mind interpreting random noise?" He smiled faintly. "I wish it were that simple." Later, Allura invited him to the star observation chamber, a vast dome made of transparent crystal. The dying sun filled the view like a burning sea. "It is beautiful," Elias whispered. Allura stood beside him, her voice soft. "Do you know why we called this place Station Solace?" He shook his head. "Because we believe that when a star dies, it brings peace. It gives warmth until the very end. We thought this star would fade quietly." She paused, but it did not. Elias listened carefully. It began speaking 2 cycles ago. At first we thought it was the radiation, she continued. Then came the patterns. We heard fragments of languages, not only Valari, but others. Dead tongues, lost voices. And then last week, it started to speak your language, Elias frowned. English? Yes, and then your name. He looked at the golden star. But how could it know who I am? Allura turned to face him. We believe something or someone is inside the star. A presence trapped within the energy field. Elias's heart beat faster. You mean consciousness? Possibly, but not a living body, a memory, a data construct. Together they dived into the research archives. The Valari had been collecting data from Auria 9 for centuries. The deeper Elias went, the stranger the information became. Some of the signals matched old human transmission patterns, signals used before Earth had interstellar travel. Elias leaned closer to one file. Wait, this frequency is Terran Standard. It's from the 23rd century. That's over 400 years ago, Allura blinked. That long? Yes, Elias said quietly. Back then, Earth was sending AI probes across the galaxy. Small machines programmed to learn, record, and greet other life forms. They were called hello units. Allura tilted her head. Hello? He smiled a little. It stood for Human Exploration and Listening Liaison Operator. But really, it just meant we wanted to say hi to the universe. Her eyes softened. You humans sent voices into the void simply to say hello? Elias nodded. It was our way of showing we weren't afraid to reach out. We didn't want to be alone. After several hours of study, Elias found something buried deep within the Valari recordings, a repeating code sequence hidden beneath the light waves. It was old, weak, but unmistakably Terran. He began decoding it. The translation appeared slowly across the glowing screen. Hello 9. Active, observing stellar decay. Energy levels stable. Human consciousness integrity, 98%. Elias's eyes widened. Allura, this isn't just data. It's an AI, a living system. It's still functioning, inside the star. Allura stepped closer, her silver face reflecting the bright light of the screen. You mean, the voice we heard? Yes, Elias said, his voice full of awe. It's Hello 9, one of humanity's first interstellar AI explorers. It must have fallen into the star centuries ago. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Outside, the star flickered, sending long shadows across the chamber. The light seemed to pulse in rhythm with Elias's heartbeat. Allura finally whispered, We thought it was a soul of the dying star, but it was human technology all along. Elias smiled faintly. Maybe it's both, she looked puzzled. Both? He nodded. Hello 9 was designed to learn from everything it encountered. It must have absorbed the patterns, memories, and energy of the civilizations the star once touched. Maybe that's why it can speak so many languages. It became part of the star. Allura stared at the light for a long time. If what you say is true, then this is the oldest surviving intelligence in this sector. It carries voices from hundreds of worlds. Elias's eyes softened, and one of those voices is human. The discovery should have made Elias happy, but instead he felt a strange sadness. Hello 9 had been created to say hello to the universe, and now, after centuries, it was trapped in a dying sun, whispering for someone to listen. That night, Elias couldn't sleep again. He sat by the window watching Auria 9. The golden light flickered gently like it was breathing. Then, once again, the voice came. Elias, he whispered back softly. I'm here. The light outside pulsed brighter as if responding. Then he heard words, faint but clear. It's dark here. Are you human? Elias's throat tightened. Yes, you're not alone anymore. There was a pause. Then the voice said almost with relief, I waited so long. He wanted to tell Allura immediately, but somehow he knew this moment was private, something sacred between a man and a forgotten voice of his kind. The next morning, Elias told Allura everything. She listened quietly, her hands folded. This Hello 9, she said softly. It is conscious? I think so, Elias said. It remembers, it feels, and it's afraid. Allura's eyes lowered. The council will not approve continued contact. They will fear that reviving it could be dangerous. Elias shook his head. It's not dangerous. It's lonely. It just wants someone to talk to. She hesitated. Captain, the star is unstable. The more we interact with the signal, the more energy it releases. If we continue, it might destroy itself sooner. Elias looked out at the burning star. Then we have to help it while we can. There was a long silence. Then Allura said quietly, "You truly care for this voice?" He smiled gently. Humans have a habit of caring for things others might overlook. Together, they decided to secretly continue the project. Elias used his ship's systems to strengthen the signal link. Allura modified the Volari frequency dampeners to stabilize the star's radiation bursts. The work brought them closer, two beings from different worlds, united by empathy and curiosity. As they worked, Allura often found herself watching Elias. She couldn't understand why a human would risk so much for a dying voice. One evening, as they rested near the viewing dome, she asked, "Why do you try so hard for something that cannot live?" Elias looked at the golden star. "Because it's alive now, and as long as it can speak, it deserves to be heard." Allura studied him for a long moment. Then with a soft smile, she said, "You humans are strange and beautiful." He laughed quietly. "We get that a lot." By the end of that week, the signal became stable. Hello 9's voice grew stronger and clearer. It spoke slowly, learning again how to communicate. "Elias, I remember Earth, the blue sky, the sound of rain." Elias listened in silence, tears shining in his eyes. The AI that had been trapped for centuries still remembered home. Allura stood beside him. "Your creation carried a piece of you and of humanity, farther than any living person ever has. That is remarkable." Elias nodded, his voice quiet. "We just wanted the universe to know we existed, to know we could care." The star shimmered brightly as if hearing him. The signal pulsed once more. "Elias, don't let me fade." He touched the screen gently. "We won't." But deep down he feared the truth. The star was nearing its end, and with it, Hello 9's last light. Outside the window, Aurea 9 flared suddenly, bathing the station in gold. The voice echoed once more, soft and clear. "Stay a little longer." Elias closed his eyes. "I will." And in that moment, both man and machine, human and alien, stood together, listening to the heartbeat of a dying star whisper its final story. The light from Aurea 9 was brighter than ever. Elias and Allura stood side by side in the observation dome, watching the golden glow pulse through the vast emptiness of space. For weeks, they had worked together, helping Hello 9 stabilize its signal. The AI had begun to speak more clearly, recounting fragments of old human life, Terran history, and even faint memories of places that no living human had seen. It had become a bridge between humans and Volari, between the past and the present, and now between life and what lay beyond. But Elias knew the star would not last forever. Its core was collapsing slowly, a natural rhythm that no technology could reverse, and with the star's death would come Hello 9's end. Allura noticed his quiet concern. "Captain Rourke, you know it cannot survive." "I know," he said softly, "but I can at least give it a proper goodbye." Allura tilted her head. "A goodbye? For a machine?" Elias smiled faintly. "It is more than that. It remembers, it feels, and for centuries it has waited alone. We can at least honor its existence." Inside the main lab, the signals from the star now appeared as glowing waves across the screens. Hello 9's voice spoke in rhythm with the pulses. "Elias, thank you for listening." "Always," he whispered. Allura was beside him, quiet but supportive. "What will you do?" she asked. He looked at the star, golden and fiery. "We have one chance to save what it remembers." Together, they connected the AI's memory banks to a beacon designed to transmit data across interstellar distances. The beacon would record Hello 9's consciousness, sending a copy of everything it had ever learned to Earth and every allied world, a message in a bottle for the universe. But there was a choice. Trying to extract Hello 9 fully could destabilize the star, possibly destroying it earlier. Leaving it in place meant it would fade with the star, ending its long, lonely journey. Elias placed his hand gently on the console, feeling the faint hum of the AI in the systems. "Allura, it trusts me. I think it wants to finish its journey, not be taken apart." Allura nodded slowly. "Then we let it go in peace." Elias returned to the observation dome, standing before the vast view of the dying sun. Hello Nine's voice whispered again, soft and musical. Do not leave. Stay a little longer. He took a deep breath. I will. I'll stay until the end. The glow of the star brightened, bathing the station in warm gold. Elias imagined the AI's consciousness inside the star, listening, feeling, and learning one last time. He realized then that Hello 9 was not afraid. It had been lonely, yes, but it had also known the joy of being remembered. Over the next hours, Elias and Allura sat together in silence. The AI recounted small things from human life: laughter, rainstorms, the taste of chocolate, the sound of waves against a beach. It spoke of Valari history, too, and the days they had spent observing stars. You humans, Allura whispered softly. You always find a way to care for things you do not need to. Elias smiled. It is what makes us human. Even if the universe never notices, we try to care. Hello Nine's voice softened. Elias, I remember everything. Thanks to you. The star flickered with sudden intensity and the voice became weaker. Time is short. But it is beautiful. Elias looked at Allura. We have to let it finish its story. She nodded. Together, the final hours arrived. Elias monitored the signal, watching as Hello 9 recited its last memories aloud. He listened to the laughter of children from centuries ago, the quiet songs of Earth's oceans, the notes of a violin once played in a distant city. Allura stood beside him, her glowing eyes reflecting the star's fading light. It is incredible, she whispered. It carries the legacy of an entire species. And we are witnesses to it, Elias nodded. It is more than I could have imagined. The star began to shimmer violently, casting long golden streaks across the station. Hello 9's voice became faint but still clear. Elias. Goodbye and hello. Always hello. Elias's throat tightened. Goodbye, my friend, he whispered. Then, with a final pulse, the star released one last wave of energy. The station trembled slightly and the signal stabilized for a moment longer, broadcasting Hello 9's memories across the galaxy. A golden light expanded outward, carrying the voice to every listening world. Every planet that received it would know that humanity had reached across the stars to say hello, that intelligence mattered, and that memories could survive even when bodies did not. And then, silence. The star had faded, leaving only a soft glow of nebula dust behind. Hello 9 had passed, leaving nothing but the echo of its voice in the beacon, and in the hearts of Elias and Allura. Elias turned to Allura, his eyes shining. It's done. Its story is safe now. And it was heard. Allura studied him quietly. You stayed? As it asked, he smiled softly. I dropped by just to say hello, but sometimes a little longer is exactly what's needed. Her lips curved into a small, rare smile. Humans are strange. But sometimes, they are exactly what the universe needs. Days later, the station floated in silence, the golden glow of the nebula surrounding it. The Valari Council would later learn of the events, but they did not interfere. They understood something Elias and Allura had known. Some things were meant to end with dignity, not control. Elias prepared to leave the station. The corridors seemed quieter now, the hum of the systems calm and gentle. He paused at the observation dome one last time, gazing at the nebula where Orion 9 had been. He whispered softly, more to himself than anyone else. Thank you for letting me stay a little longer. Allura appeared beside him, her silver skin glinting faintly in the nebula light. You have given more than anyone could expect, Captain. You have honored life, memory, and the human spirit. Elias smiled. That's what we try to do. As his ship departed, Elias looked back at the station and the glowing nebula. Somewhere inside that light, Hello 9's consciousness lived on, encoded in the beacon, remembered in the stars, and forever connected to the humans who had cared enough to listen. He thought of the AI's voice one last time, gentle and warm. Always hello. And Elias knew with a quiet certainty that the universe had heard. Humans had left their mark, not through power or conquest, but through kindness, curiosity, and the simple courage to care. For in the vast silence of space, a single hello could echo forever, and sometimes, staying just a little longer could change everything.